Hey team, gang, listeners, this is Michael, reporting from the editing bay, and I have some unfortunate news. So this month we are doing Toxic Love February, where we do various movies that have crime and couples. And the first movie of the month was meant to be Blood Simple, the Coen brothers' first movie. And we had a whole episode recorded on it, and then when I came back to the editing bay today, it turns out it was glitched. Kalen's microphone just was not picking up audio for about 20 minutes of our 40-minute recording session, so there's just really no way for us to salvage it. Maybe one day we'll look back and cover this movie again. It didn't make the perfect movie list, so we're not really missing anything out of the canon, so rest assured there. But unfortunately, it was a banger episode, and we missed it. So our first episode of Toxic Love February will now be Natural Born Killers, a quite interesting movie that we will go on to discuss. But if you hear us reference Blood Simple or a previous episode during this episode and you're confused by that, well, this message should explain why. Thank you. See you later.
Look at me, I'm Woody Harrelson, and I'm crazy.
Look at me. My dad was a killer for hire. I'm Woody Harrelson.
I'm Woody Harrelson. My dad said he killed JFK. That's a real thing.
I'm Woody Harrelson. Matthew McConaughey is my alleged blood relative.
I'm Woody Harrelson, and I have a bald head, and I was in True Detective.
With my brother from another mother, but maybe the same father, Matthew McConaughey. All right.
He got all the handsome genes. I ain't talking denim.
Welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the podcast that answers the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Michael.
I'm Kalen.
And today, we're continuing our Toxic Love February, our exploration of movies where couples do crimes, with the film Quentin Tarantino hates. It's Natural Born Killers.
Here's a question I have for you, too. What about Natural Born Killers did you not like that Oliver Stone did with it? Because you wrote that, right?
Yeah. Well, basically, that he rewrote my script. That's first, foremost, and kind of, you can stop right there.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big problem.
I mean, my whole thing about it is, like, I know people, screenwriters in Hollywood, they rewrite them all the time, and that happens all the time. Not to me. So the minute it happened, I was like, you know what? I ain't going to play this game. He didn't have a right to do it. I would rather he stole it.
Right.
I'd rather he had stole what he won from it just so my name wouldn't be associated with it.
Was there a part of it that you hated that he did?
Yeah, well, okay, there's one part. Okay, I've never sat down and watched the movie from beginning to end.
So my George Lucas comparison. This is the George Lucas Star Wars Holiday Special equivalent to Tarantino films. I don't know if that made sense.
Are you saying it's as bad as the Star Wars Holiday Special?
Yes. It just came out wrong.
It came out wrong. I don't know if I agree with that because I'm still teetering between. Do I think this film is genius or just unbearable to be with?
So I watched this movie last night, and I had some time to think about it. And I woke up this morning, and I said to myself, I think I hated this movie.
Yeah.
It is so bad, but there are moments that are interesting, kind of cool, but the big word for this is excess, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking plot. We're talking cinematography. My God. Zack Snyder watched this film and was like, I can top that. It gave me a migraine, I think.
Yep.
Just a lot going on.
Yeah. I could really only compare this movie with, like, physical things that can happen to you, like laying in a bed of a room in the middle of the summer that's muggy and you have no air conditioning, and now there's a fat man sitting on your chest.
Yes.
That's what watching Natural Born Killers is like.
Well, I was like, is this what an epileptic seizure feels like?
Yeah.
You know?
Natural Born Killers is like, you know, leaning too close to the stove when there's a boiling pot and your eyebrows get singed.
Yeah.
These are all things that watching the film Natural Born Killers feels like.
This shit is borderline experimental.
It is. It's crazy. The way that it is filmed alone is like, I've never seen anything like it, and I kind of get why it is. Like, it is excessive. I think it is meant to make you feel that way. Whether or not that makes it a good movie, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is meant to like kind of ruin your day. Like, you're supposed to be like, you know that meme of like SpongeBob leaned up against the wall in his underwear and he's like panting because he's so tired.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to feel after. You know, you've just been like woken up from a sweaty dream kind of feeling.
Well, it's like the closest thing I can kind of like tone-wise, or the feelings that it brought back, was like the first time I watched Uncut Gems.
Yeah. Safdie brothers kind of tread in this.
Yeah. But this is just so bizarre because there's so many different elements. There's like animated segments in this, and like you just don't know where it's gonna go. And it's like, is this satire? Like, I mean, it's obviously satire, but it's like, are you joking me?
Yeah.
Am I the joke?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is this a prank? I'm looking around and I'm saying, is this a prank?
Yeah. And then you have like Robert Downey Jr. is in this,
Doing a crazy Australian accent.
which is terrible.
Yeah.
Which is so bad.
It's so funny, though. He's really funny.
I'm never coming home. Don't you get it? I'm alive for the first fucking time in my life. I'm alive. Because I don't love you anymore. I love Ming. Yeah, that's right. Ming is not a fucking restaurant. I don't care. Take the rest of the money. It's all yours anyway. And one more thing. You piss off, you cunt!
I chose this movie, Natural Born Killers, which is the story, I guess, of Mallory and Mickey, a serial killer couple that's on the run. They become this like media phenomenon where people they have like fans now. They become celebrity criminals, which, you know, typically in our day and age happens in like way after the fact when they do a Hulu special or there's a really popular
Netflix Dahmer.
podcast.
Yeah.
But this is all like as they're on their cross-country crime spree where they're just going town to town and random people get killed. Robert Downey Jr. plays a guy that hosts like a sort of Geraldo-esque, like very exploitative true crime show where he lionizes these people. And then very late in the movie, we get Tommy Lee Jones just being sweaty and running a prison as a prison warden. And a lot of just insane visual choices along the way.
Yes.
As we get into it, actually, I do want to set the scene for why I keep saying this is Quentin Tarantino's most hated movie. And this is an old interview, so maybe things have changed since then. But he claims that he walked out, which would have been in like the first 20 minutes, is when we cut to
during the sitcom
the fake sitcom segment where we're getting our backstory to Mallory.
Yeah.
And he was just like, F this. This is not my movie.
I feel like I would have did the same thing.
I think that's like the most memorable and maybe best bit of the film.
You think so?
Yeah.
I hated it.
Yeah. You are supposed to. Like, you do hate it.
I
Absolutely.
hated it from a technical aspect too, though. Like, it was more than that.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was just so ugly. But, I mean, again, maybe that's the point. I don't know. Bizarre.
But basically, the script has been rearranged ever since Quentin Tarantino sold it, which is why he has a story by credit and not a written by credit. I'm going to shout out Lancelotti, who has a YouTube video on this where I'm getting a lot of this info from. But Tarantino, in this interview audio, basically says, like, it's not my movie, and they changed it significantly. And the change that they made was this becomes a Mickey and Mallory story the entire time. Actually, the TV reporter character is supposed to be the main character in Tarantino's version of the script. And you know that like montage they do where we get a little bit of the Australian guy's TV show and we get some recreations of the crimes and interviews with people who are like fans of Mickey and Mallory.
Yeah.
That like 5-minute segment is supposed to be like the whole first half of the movie in the Tarantino version. So when Mickey and Mallory do show up, they're more like it's like the couple at the end of Pulp Fiction. You know, they're these crazy characters that we've learned about, like we heard about. We don't hear that in Pulp Fiction, but you know, we don't know these people. We just like experience them after,
right?
You know, and this movie is all about like getting into the dirty griminess of like why would people behave this way? Like what would turn two people into these serial killers?
Yeah,
and then like the media circus that comes around them. And it's not fun, certainly, in the way that I'm sure the Tarantino script wants this to be like a little bit more of a whiz bang.
A much tighter type of film. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was all written before eventually he makes Reservoir Dogs and directs it himself. And he sold this movie, and then he also sold True Romance to Tony Scott, and he loves True Romance.
Yeah,
because it feels more, I think, in line with his vision, which is a movie where a man meets a girl and takes her to the comic shop that he works at, and she's like, "Wow, you're so cultured." And I'm like, Quentin Tarantino, put the pen down. Of course, you like this version of the movie. The more I hear him talk, Tarantino I'm talking about, the less I'm like, you should talk. Don't talk anymore. Stop talking. Yeah. I don't want to hear you talking anymore.
I just want to see your movies.
Yeah. And essentially it turns from a thing where violence is fun to violence is bad and makes you feel bad.
Yeah, and that is the turning point is the scene where they meet like the Native American shaman. And that was the one scene I actually kind of liked because the trippiness of the whole film kind of had purpose in that scene, just because there's like rituals being taken place and like Woody Harrelson's character's wrestling with his inner demon, and trauma is a big thing for both characters. And I thought that was most well executed in that scene. It was still weird and kind of stupid in some parts, in some aspects, but when you have the whole film like that, it's not as effective.
Shall we get into the performance test? Where we talk about specific actor scenes, characters, and moments.
It was the performance of a lifetime!
Start off with Juliette Lewis as Mallory Wilson Knox. She is wild in this. Very wild. I've seen her in a few things. She's in television shows. She was a well-known actress at the time. She was in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. She was pretty good. I think her performance was pretty solid for the most part. She kind of has this like Harley Quinn kind of essence to her character, where she's just kind of a wild child and she's head over heels in love with this psychopath, and she's also kind of nutty and just different things. But I thought for performance-wise, she was probably the strongest performance in the movie, along with Robert Downey Jr.
When them people come here and they ask you who done this, you tell them Mickey and Mallory Knox did it, all right? Say it.
Mickey and Mallory Knox did it.
Mickey and Mallory Knox. I love you, Mickey.
Mallory?
Yeah, she's really good. The movie asks a lot of her, for sure. And she's kind of given a back seat to when Woody Harrelson has the whole... he's getting interviewed by Robert Downey Jr. towards the end of the movie, live after the Super Bowl. And she's kind of taken a back seat, but somehow she's still like the most powerful character in the movie.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. So I think that is a real testament to her. What do we think about Woody Harrelson? You did not mention him of the two top performances.
I think he was miscast. I just he has that face that's very sleazy and gross. Mm-hmm. And so for this type of character, I could see it working. Actually, I would prefer another actor in this role. He was also in Mississippi Burning. He plays Merle in The Walking Dead. He also played
Michael Rooker?
Michael Rooker, a serial killer in Portrait of a Serial Killer. I think he would have maybe elevated this performance a little bit more than Woody Harrelson. I'm not the biggest Woody Harrelson fan either, so that's part of it. I don't know. I just his character is just all over the place, and just much like the movie. I'm still trying to process all of this, honestly.
Yeah. You really got to just kind of scrape your brain off the floor and put it back in your head when you're finished watching this. Just kind of oozes out from the pure heat emanating from every like stylistic decision being thrown at the screen every other moment, the entire movie.
Yeah.
I have no problem with Woody Harrelson. I think they're both great. I actually like all the performances in this movie. I don't really think there's a weak link. I think they understand the assignment where this thing is like so elevated, and it just keeps getting more elevated. Like it gets crazier the more characters we meet. Because then there's like Tom Sizemore, who's a guy that has played a lot of like crazy characters.
Yeah.
This crazy guy in Heat, the guy that goes, to me, the action is the juice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's Scagnetti, which is a hilarious name. The also murderer police detective that is in pursuit of Mickey and Mallory.
Hey, you blonde entity! This is Dick Scagnetti now! You put that thing down! Fuck you, Scagnetti! No! Don't cut her tits off! Go ahead, Scagnetti! We'll get her some silicone implants! I swear to God, I'll cut her fucking tits off right here, right now! Go ahead, you ain't got the balls! Shut the fuck up!
And he's also just this sweaty, loud, angry performance.
Tommy Lee Jones too. Like
Tommy Lee Jones looks like he's prepping right to jump into Batman Forever and be Two-Face.
Yeah.
Right after this. He's so cartoonish. I love when the prison break is happening and everybody's like, there's just an absolute riot everywhere, and he like gets to the control center, and the way he's just yelling at everyone and just having an absolute tantrum.
He is spazzing out.
Yes, what is it, not a Bundy? What? I don't care what your fucking name is! Mickey and Mallory knocks her loose. Scagnetti's dead. And they're live on network TV. Live on network TV! Jesus, Harold Christ on a fucking rubber crutch, is this happening to me?
Oh my God. Yeah. There's so many. Look at this cast list, man. My God. There's so much going on.
Whoa,
Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, he's only in the Mallory's house
segment.
sitcom
He's so
segment.
disgusting.
He's vile, and I mean he's literally in the show in Mallory's backstory that the show is exemplifying. He's like a rapist.
Yeah.
He's
His
like,
whole family knows about it.
and it's like an open secret, and everybody goes, ha, ha, ha. It's a laugh track, and I don't know. I keep landing more on I think this movie's genius, but it is just so overwhelming that every time you watch it, by the end, you're just like, why? Like, it's like you're coming down from, a heroin withdrawal or something. Like, you're just kind of like shivering, and you're upset and unwell once you finished it.
Your head probably hurts.
Yeah.
I'm going to the John Lee Hooker concert with Donna. I told you that yesterday.
First off, you don't tell me anything. You asked my permission. Second, you're not going out in that Hoover House dress. You'll end up peddling your ass, you stupid bitch. And third, you're not going out at all. You didn't mow the yard.
That piece of shit lawnmower is fun!
That's the way you talk in front of your mother? You stupid bitch. You watch your language. Or I'll kick the shit out of you, like I do her. So if your ass is in this house, it's my ass. So you move it upstairs and take a shower. You make sure it's a good shower, because I'm coming up after to see how clean you are.
I want to move on to It's an Art, just because this is probably where I have my most issues and also the most to talk about regarding this film.
Okay, can I put one quote?
Yes.
Which made me laugh, which would still be funny, I think, if it was written in a movie today. Is Wayne talking to Mickey, and Mickey's just agreed to do the interview after the Super Bowl, and he's super excited, and he goes, "I've got to go. I'm doing a benefit tonight for homeless transsexual veterans." Think what?
Homeless transsexual veterans. There's going to be a lot of those.
Yeah.
Soon.
When the tariffs hit. I don't know. Just peak satire in the 90s and hasn't aged a bit. All right, It's an Art. This is what we're going to talk about. Everything in this movie. Because this movie just explodes in artistic choices.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
So the most distracting and horrible thing in this film is when they cut to it's like a POV shot of and it's in black and white, and it's supposed to look like, I don't know, TV filming, I guess, or like for reality shows. It's so awful, and it's so in your face every time it happens. It's unexpected each time it happens too, because it's just so random. And I hate it so much. And it literally, I stopped the movie for a second and I had to rub my head, my temples, because I could not take it. And I looked and I was like, I still have an hour and a half left. Yeah. I was just like, my God, dude.
This is good. This is kind of what I was expecting from you. It was kind of a setup to make you watch this movie, because I was like, I don't know. You just got to see this one time. This is how I felt the first time I watched Uncut Gems, not really understanding what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And by the end, I was just like, I'm tired.
I think it's a lot more compelling, though.
Uncut Gems?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still got the fat man sitting on your chest
Yes.
feeling.
Yeah.
For sure. But in the first 5 minutes, we have every editing trick in the book. We got black and white. We have POV shots of bullets with Looney Tune sound effects when they hit people.
Yes.
We have Dutch angles. We have absolute surreal abstract imagery of animals.
Yeah.
We have rear projection when they're blasting rear projection where there's flames outside the window all of a sudden, or there's all this imagery that's getting superimposed into the windows and outside scenery.
Like a shot of a guy's face with his mouth open and blood pouring down his head.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, we cut
stuff.
to recut to that Woody Harrelson bathed in blood.
Yeah.
Or just a man in a demon suit laughing.
A guy with three eyes. Just bizarre shit.
And then once we get to the segment where they propose to each other on the bridge and they cut their hands, and then we get introduced to now there's going to be animated segments.
That was pretty cool, though.
Yes, that's the best. I thought you'd like that part when the blood goes into the water and it turns into this whole animated segment as she talks about how cool we're all part of all the lakes and rivers and oceans in the whole world.
Also, a truck of migrant workers drive by.
And she just says, "Fuck you,"
because they ruin the moment, because they're just yelling at them or whatever. That was great. Great scene. I liked that scene a lot. Yeah.
But yeah, and then we cut to them enjoying time alone in the motel, and it's just things seem normal except outside the window it's rear projected flames and stars flying by and just all kinds of different scenery.
And these two people they're just having a moment, and then you cut to the corner and there's a woman tied up in the corner. She's just watching this happen. Mm-hmm. That was disturbing. So again, there's interesting stuff here. It's not all terrible.
So, and I'm sure you get this. I think the theory of this all, and I think this is why I like it, is we're making these million decisions to put you in this scattered frame of mind of these main characters where they are just so chaotic.
Yeah.
Because of their backstory and just this is how they thrive. Like Adam Sandler says in Uncut Gems, this is how I win.
Yeah.
This is how they're getting back to the world for the unfair hand they were dealt for these abusive and toxic relationships they had from birth with their parents. And it just is kind of somehow putting us in their shoes because they are just this unhinged,
Just
and
manic.
everything is tinged like from moment to moment, where it's like when Woody Harrelson's feeling ashamed in the shaman's home, all of a sudden the word demon is just superimposed on his chest.
Yeah.
Or like when they're dying of poison, they go into a Walgreens essentially, and it's just green.
Bathed in green.
Bathed in green because, green toxic venom.
Stylistically, this film reminded me the most of probably Bram Stoker's Dracula. Just like the choices in like visual storytelling, where it's like we have superimposed images and you have all these like flashing images. It's just really, it's interesting, and I think Bram Stoker's Dracula is a lot more condensed and more like a film than this one. Yeah. But I see what they were trying to do, but again, it's about the execution, and there's such thing as too much.
Absolutely. And I don't think this movie ever asked itself once, is this too much? No. All they ever said was like more fuel on the fire.
And usually I want that from directors. I embrace the weird, but when you're kind of borderlining on like pretentious shit, and it's like, this is a Tarantino script, and you're changing it, and you're doing all these things, and it's like, okay, if this was in the hands of a more competent director, I could see this going a lot better, Yeah. So from that aspect, it's kind of it's almost like a letdown, where it's like, wow, we could have seen a much better version of this, But obviously, things happen. So.
I certainly cannot blame anyone for not liking this movie. It's not really a film to be enjoyed.
No.
It's another movie I think I'm infatuated with, where I think there's definitely issues, and it's definitely like, talk about beating ideas.
Yeah.
Now, this movie is like also a shotgun shell like of ideas, where it's like, we're talking about media, and we're talking about violence, and we're talking about, like parental abuse, and we're talking about this and that, and it's just like everything at once, and sometimes like in one shot it's trying to convey one thing with the shot and one thing with the dialogue, and it's trying to like fold it all in on itself, and it's just, I don't know, I think I just keep watching it and trying to figure out, this is my second time watching it, like figure out like what everything means at every moment. Like I'm trying to like put a hook into everything, and sometimes I think it's not even there. Like it's just kind of like vaguely an idea maybe, or just like this shot was cool this time, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. But I'm still like trying, I'm Charlie Day by my board filled with yarn, and I'm just trying to figure this movie out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But the problem is too, it's like I want to figure that out, but I don't, because I don't want to watch this again.
I don't want to watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's a great movie that you could show in like a film school for like setting, editing, and mood.
Yes.
But only watch 8 minutes and then shut it off.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. I want to move on to hey, what are you trying to say?
This is where we're going to talk about the ideas and themes of Natural Born Killers.
Take it away whenever you're ready.
All right, let me just get that last measurement on your.
Thank you. I need this for the wedding.
Okay, well
I need it really quickly.
It could take about a week to do.
It could take a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you trying to say? He's trying to say that I'm so big, my bum is so big, you need to order to various countries far away to get enough material to make a pair of pants so I can fit my incredibly obese buttocks into a pair of your specially made little suit.
No, I mean I'm the only one working here this week.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be great.
So I think one of the bigger themes is like desensitized violence. Especially in the media, and just how we portray and idolize very negative either historical figures or just like people who do bad shit, but we portray it as like, oh, this is cool, incel men, just different things like that.
I mean, really, speaking of modern versions of this, like Joker.
Yes.
These are we talk about people getting Joker-fied online. Like, these are the most Joker-fied individuals on the planet.
Yeah.
They've been Joker-fied by their abusive parents and the media around them.
And then just the ideas of trauma, and especially from the women's perspective, where it's like you go from one abusive relationship to the next and you almost like, it's like that saying where it's like you marry your father, basically, and you, even though Woody Harrelson is not as abusive to her as her father was, there's still aspects of his relationship that are very toxic and very demeaning, and he's stringing her along for the ride and kind of introducing this idea of violence to her. And it's interesting, but again, it's just not portrayed that clearly. The message of this film, there's so many different things going on where it's hard to narrow down exactly what this is talking about, because it's talking about everything. So obviously just the media, like, you think of these shows like, what was that big show, not To Catch a Predator, but it was like that other one, not Chris Hansen, what's that guy's name? His son went missing.
Yeah, it's America's Most Wanted.
Most Wanted. It's stuff like that, or it's like Bounty Hunters, different things where it's just like we sensationalize crime and violence, and I think today's modern equivalent to this would be like Dr. Phil going on ice raids. You know what I mean? It's just monetization of violence, and
Oliver Stone also has spoken on he was said in the clip where he was like, these new directors, they think violence is fun, and I don't get that.
Well,
like
he was a veteran, wasn't
I
he?
was in Vietnam. I saw what guns do to people firsthand, and I can't really buy into that idea. And I think that's kind of like, sending us down the wrong river.
Yeah.
With that concept and portraying that in media. So I think it's the other thing I really just enjoy and I'm interested in this movie is it's taking a Quentin Tarantino script. He is the guy that's on that morning show, where she says, "Why all the bloody violence in your films?" And he says, "'Cause it's so much fun, Jan. Get it."
It's literally anti-Quentin Tarantino. It's a parody of Tarantino before Tarantino even started.
This is what annoys me about the man Tarantino is that he can't look at that and be like, "I disagree with it" or "don't like it, but I appreciate it."
Yeah,
where he's just vehemently like, "I can't do it because they changed all the things." I'm like, yeah, somebody took your work and looked at it from a different perspective. Can you not be such an ego-full bastard and just appreciate that like somebody else had something else to think about?
Especially coming from somebody who idolizes cinema.
Yeah.
Tarantino loves Hollywood. He loves films in general. Blaxploitation kind of treads the same lines as this. You know what I mean? Where it's satire, and he, you would think he'd be more appreciative, but I get it from his perspective where it's like was his vision.
Yeah.
But then maybe you shouldn't have sold it in the first place.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like he was well compensated for this script.
Yeah. I'm sure he didn't complain about that check.
And Oliver Stone, he's the director of Platoon, an all-timer war movie, and several other classics, and it's just like, let a man, take a swing. You can not like it, and if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, or I think even if you're looking at the that came out at that time, like it is a pretty divisive movie. There's the two of us, and I think we're landing on different ends of the spectrum. You're like, I see what you're doing, and I hate it, and I'm like, I see what you're doing, and I want to see more, or like I can't figure it out, and I'm intrigued.
The shock value holds up.
Yeah,
you
wouldn't think.
Yeah,
35 years later, or whatever.
Because we've seen everything. We've seen it all now as cinephiles.
Yeah. No, but it really is like, if nothing else, it is something that is so excessive that it stands out regardless of what you perceive of its quality.
And I think you would call this a cult classic by now. People love this film.
Mm-hmm.
And people very much so, like on Letterboxd, they're very adamant about it. And I get from both aspects. It didn't land with me. That's okay. And I think that's great for the divisiveness of the film in general.
The third most popular review is a 3-star one that just says, "I'm having a stroke."
Yes.
Younger 90s filmmakers, I'm a little surprised that they think violence is cool and hip.
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us have
Because it's so much fun, Jan. Get it?
Which is fine for a couple of, you can make a couple of films like that, but I can't see that making a career out of it. Morally, it's a repugnant point of view to me because I've been in Vietnam. I've seen the effect of guns.
And I for one, like, okay, so maybe we should just move into now let the hate flow through.
Okay, let's let the hate flow through and air out our annoyances and our complaints.
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
My main complaints come from the cinematography and just the way it looks. It's too much. It's too fucking much. And you can convey these same emotions and get the same feeling. All of the pretentious, like, cutaways of people going, like, putting their hands to the screen Macaulay Culkin style and going, ah, and there's blood coming down their face. I don't need that, you know, to understand what's going on.
Yeah, there's some that look really goofy.
Yes.
And I get what they're going for, but also they do kind of rip you out of the mood.
But there's moments where it's great, like the shaman scene, where it's like, okay, you keep getting this shot of like this demon creature thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, obviously, you're going through the mind of Woody Harrelson's character in the moment. And it's like, okay, this is coherent, you know? And, you know, that scene worked perfectly for like the existential aspect of this film. And so I think it was warranted in that scene, but then it's just like the entire movie, like I said earlier, it just keeps going. And
well, that's also,
you get that.
even though it's chaotic, it's also kind of the breath of fresh air in the middle of the movie where they like take magic mushrooms and get lost in the desert and they have this like existential experience with the native shaman. That's like almost the quietest part of the movie, even though it is also chaotic itself.
But they also have like a real human experience where they have empathy for what they did in that scene. And so now you can empathize with these characters. And you can really see, okay, trauma is the reason why they're like this, and like the shit that they went through. And it's like, yes, they're batshit fucking crazy, but they're still people. And like, it's just different things, man. This movie is working me up.
I mean, put it down in one sentence, this movie is saying hurt people, hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? I think it's in Arrested Development. The mother goes like, hurt people, hurt people. I like that. Like, she just says it twice. Like, you get to hurt people twice as much.
Real quick, let's talk about the opening scene. Because that is probably...
The diner scene?
It's almost like this almost worked. But then it's like it drops the ball in many aspects.
Is it when she starts like kung fu fighting the man on the dance floor?
Yes. But then I was like, okay, I can see some like Kill Bill stuff going on. Just like the weird, like, again, like blaxploitation where people just know kung fu.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like that, and it had that pulpy feel to it. But the dialogue was terrible.
Yeah.
The dialogue was really bad. And it's like, okay, well, from a Tarantino script, like the dialogue should be much more fleshed out. You should feel the tension a little bit more. You can still have these goofy moments and stuff. I really did like the shot where the bullet slowed down and just stopped at that woman's face. And then it cuts to like blood splattering on the wall. That's great. It looked really cool. And then the knife throw through the window.
Mm-hmm.
There's some cool moments. And I want to appreciate that because I think it worked well in the first scene.
Yeah, I do love all the choices when they are in their car. Almost every time there's just a massive rear projection screen like going off on the side, and it's just this super moody, everything's unreal in it. So like I can almost excuse some of those cutaways that are just like a dude in a demon mask that's glistening a little too much, you know, and it looks a little hokey because everything about it is so outside of like the real spectrum. Like we talked about Blood Simple being like bare bones and pretty naturalistic, and this is like
acid trip.
Yeah, this is like acid trip cartoon. This is not like if Raising Arizona is a Looney Tunes. I don't know who makes this kind of cartoon, but this is like, you know, this is. It's also a cartoon, but in a very disgusting way.
There's a scene where like Woody Harrelson is just talking, and he moves his head, and his face distorts, and it looks like demonic almost. Different things to like show you his psyche. A lot of scenes involving him where it's just like bathed in green. He's eating a key lime pie that's like just green Jello, basically. For whatever reason, green is connected to his character. I'm not really sure why. I haven't done the research on it, but I noticed that. I have one quote I forgot to mention was with Tom Sizemore when he's investigating the gas station murder, and he looks on the car and there's an ass print. He's like, "No, that's a perfect ass."
Yeah.
There's just little moments that I liked.
I love how hard Tommy Lee Jones freaks out when I love their final plan, which is to like, they have 2 hostages that they have somehow like strapped shotguns facing their faces so that they can like blow their heads off at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And one of them's the Australian and one of them's like a random cop. And then Robert Downey Jr. before that gets really into the escape and like kills a cop on his own.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa. Wayne, you're not that guy, pal. Like they're like, Wayne, take a back seat. This isn't your show.
I liked like the crime recreation scenes when they're for their show and stuff. That's all fun. Yeah, man. This movie it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And yeah, from my perspective, that's not a good thing. But I like that we can kind of have a yin and yang kind of thing going on where we can, and I think that may be more so the point of this film. Like, it's very subjective, and each person's takeaway from it is going to be different. Yeah.
Shall we ask our final question? Is this a perfect movie?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way. I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
Well, if it's going to be unanimous, we're not going to get there, obviously. I would tend more towards the yes. I really would. I've watched it 2 times now, and I'm just like, there's something here. It's definitely still too much, but I'm also like, this movie wasn't ever going to stop it too much.
No.
It's like a speeding train ripping through your living room, you know?
I put this movie in like the same categories as like Scott Pilgrim. I put Bram Stoker's Dracula in there, where it's just like, stylistically, it's very ambitious. Whether it lands or not, that's the question. I think Scott Pilgrim, it landed because it's much more condensed. It feels like a real film. This is much more like guerrilla style filming. The budget is a lot lower. The dialogue is not tight, and that's one of the bigger issues for me as well, where it's just like, if the dialogue was there, if you had more characters like Robert Downey Jr., where it's like, okay, this is a character, you know, I think it could have been more effective, personally. But yeah.
So it's not on the perfect movie list.
The fuck? The bird just hit the window?
No, I just cracked a little bit. Just the apartment is settling.
That was God telling me that this movie is good.
All right. So let's hash out what our final 2 movies for the month are going to be. I'd say they're kind of, before us, they're kind of lays 2 paths. There's a path where we go down the Quentin Tarantino rabbit hole and do True Romance, the other script that he sold, and we do Jackie Brown, which doesn't technically have a couple, but I consider
it does have kind of a couple.
Jackie Brown and what's his name, the older guy,
they're very much in love with each other.
They're in love with each other, although it's never like they drive in the sunset together type of film.
And I love Jackie Brown.
I do love Jackie Brown as well. Or we could go in just a different modern direction and do Baby Driver and Desperado. I don't love Baby Driver. Desperado is fun strictly for the scene where a man has a suitcase that turns into a rocket launcher.
That's pretty awesome. You have my attention.
Or we could, meet in the middle. Other movies I have on here. You said 1942.
Yes. It's not...
Or is it 1922?
1942, I think.
Okay.
Because in the trailer, he's like, 1942, I murdered my wife.
Tom and Jane.
That movie has like the Bonnie and Clyde thing towards the end. I think it's like a very underrated film. That's kind of why I wanted to do it. I would say let's do True Romance.
Okay.
Jackie Brown, we could probably save for another time.
Okay.
Because I think we haven't had a Tarantino month.
We have not.
And I think we should have a Tarantino month.
We can do that.
Down the road. We already did Django. But he has other films that are just as good and worth talking about. I picture romance. You choose the next one. We could save 1942 if we want to do like a Stephen King adaptation.
Okay, so let's do True Romance. Should we do Desperado? The only other ones I really have on here are Ocean's 11, which is okay.
Yeah.
Also has a romance. Or Hitman, the new Linklater movie. That's the Netflix one where he pretends to be a hitman and meets a woman.
Oh.
It's kind of a rom-com.
I've never seen Desperado. I'm interested in that one.
Let's do Desperado, and that kind of keeps us in the Quentin Tarantino sphere because it's a Robert Rodriguez joint.
Yeah. Also like the modern Western kind of feel. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, those sound good.
All right, so our last two movies will be True Romance and Desperado. Happy Valentine's Day for those who are celebrating. Hey, it's okay if you're not.
Don't go on a murder spree.
Yeah. No matter your tragic backstory, don't kill anyone. Even if you really want to.
Luigi.
Luigi.
I mean, huh?
Huh? You know, I was considering getting a Nintendo Switch.
You know, I was considering getting one of those too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new one coming out.
Mm-hmm. To play Luigi's Mansion.
It's the final boss.
It's ironic because Luigi's hanging out with ghosts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I was not expecting that. I thought you were going to say Zelda or something.
Yeah. Welp. Next week. So let's break down this Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic trade. So here's what they're saying. They're saying Dallas was saying Luka, he's not committed enough to being healthy.
Oh,
because
yeah.
Luka's he's a doughy boy. Okay. But he's also 25 and Anthony Davis is 30 and Anthony Davis has a long history of injuries.
Yes.
And Luka Doncic is one of the three best players in the league. And now he's on the Lakers with LeBron James.
Oh, my God. They're going to be unstoppable.
Well, not going to be able to stop anyone because they don't have any big men. That's the problem.
Okay.
That's the problem. They probably need to make another trade. Or they're going to trade LeBron James away, and who knows what's going to happen.
LeBron James should just retire.
No, he's still going strong.
I know.
He's 40.
I know all about basketball. Isn't that the game where they run down the court?
They run the courts and they shoot the hoops.
Run, steal, and shoot?
Yeah.
Well,
like a Tarantino movie.
Just, they're not saying the N-word as much, maybe in the locker rooms. But
Quentin Tarantino is no Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, we definitely need to do a Tarantino month. I watched, you know what I watched the other night that was really fucking good? Birdman. It's a really fucking good movie. It's like a theater kid's wet dream.
Mm-hmm. It's about the theater.
It's
right?
about the theater, but it's so... Okay, that's where we're talking... Okay, excess. We're talking about excess and, like, ambiguous, weird shit. Birdman is the one.
Yeah. Because isn't, like, the character of Birdman, like, kind of haunt... What's his name?
Yeah,
like
yeah. It's like it's a voice in his
he's
head.
having, like, a Scrooge thing
and
going
he's, like,
on.
levitating shit and, like... flying, and it's weird and it's fun. And Edward Norton is fantastic in that movie. He's really good. But yeah, I watched that, and then I went and watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because it was like I wanted to contrast between two movies about like failed actors, basically. And I don't know how I feel about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like I want to like it, I really do.
People love it. I watched it the first time, and I was like, wasn't serving what I wanted until it wasn't enough
until the end where it becomes a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, but all this like hanging around Hollywood and just me like sitting shotgun with Brad Pitt driving around LA, like that's not holding my attention.
Really, because I like that stuff. I like the old Hollywood feel to it, where it's like you get that Predator's name, the guy who made Rosemary's Baby or whatever.
Roman Polanski.
Roman Polanski, yeah. And you get Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie. And, yeah, it's a very interesting film. That's definitely one we should review down the road. But I don't know. I'm just riffing at this point. We haven't done this in a while, so just kind of wanted to talk. But
Tarantino's not making a new movie anytime soon, so we can't wait till then.
I heard he's getting into theater. I heard his next project is going to be a Broadway play.
Yeah, because he's mad that movies don't stay in theaters too long anymore. Which is, like, dumb because he's probably one of the few guys that'd be the exception to that rule.
Yeah.
You know?
He needs to understand that he's just filming. Nobody wants to be in a theater anymore.
Like, nobody's, you know, film reels and watch them in the basement just like you, Quentin. Like, it's just, we don't live that way
Part
anymore.
of it, too, is it looks like shit in the theater. It's much better quality at home. My audio is probably a little bit better, unless you're watching Dune 2 in IMAX or something like that, you know.
Yeah, have him go to a random Oklahoma AMC and tell me about the magic of of the theater, you know?
Yeah.
You know? Let him just go to a normal film screening. And it's like the floor is sticky, kind of smells like feet.
Somebody farted.
The screen's entirely too dim.
Somebody brought their kids to see Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah.
Tarantino's an interesting guy. He's an asshole.
And by interesting,
feet.
I mean I would be interested in never hearing him speak again.
Yes. I love that he...
Shut up and reel.
I love that he's like one of those directors where he's like, I have to have a little cameo in my films. I'm going to be...
Just a little fun for
I'm
me.
going to be an Australian racist guy in Django. You know? I just love that. He's never like... It's not as bad as like Spike Lee or something, where it's like I have to be the protagonist and I get the hot chick, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's interesting.
All right. That's enough. Shut it down.
Shut it down. Until next time, stay groovy.
Duck your ice raids.
Seriously, though.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy out here.
Smoke bomb.
Maybe cancel your flights.
Cancel your flights. Cancel any goods that you want to purchase anytime soon, especially if they come from Canada or Mexico.
Or Colombia. That's where we get our coffee from, and I'm a big coffee drinker, so I'm a little worried about that. That's the most important thing right now.
Are we winning yet?
We lost a long time ago, bud. That got real bleak.
We're renaming the podcast to the End of an Empire, and we're going to become a political podcast.
You're just going to see it like... You're just going to see us one day. We're just going to be out in the street. Just like, you know, with our little desk, and we're just going to be from a loudspeaker.
Oh.
Because the internet's going to be shut off, and so we have to do our podcast outside.
I thought we were like those guys at college campuses that'd be like... President Trump is a jackass. Prove me wrong. And then I'm, you know, sitting back with my arms folded on a college campus. Except Republicans don't go to college.
No, they don't. They just say whatever they want. Okay, that's enough. We'll see you next time.
Do you think RFK Jr. is a man being piloted by a brain worm? Like, you know, the little worm from Richard Scarry's Big World?
Or it's like the little alien from Men in Black that's in the guy's head.
Yeah.
He's just controlling him. He's got like little levers, but it's a worm.
Yeah. Or I was even thinking, is that the same thing as the guy that needs to drink all the sugar water because he's taken over? No, that's two separate things.
Two different aliens.
I'm thinking more of the guy with the sugar water.
Did you see Bernie Sanders like with a picture of onesies?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, do you agree with that saying that's on this onesie? Do you agree with this onesie to RFK? And RFK is like, I do not. I do not. I can't. Hold on. Let me try to get this.
I don't even know what he sounds like, honestly.
I do not. Oh shit. Hold on.
That's the murderer from Blood Simple.
I didn't. No, I keep doing it as a fucking Southern accent. He's got this weird fucking thing with his voice. I don't even. I'm gonna embarrass myself.
All right. Listeners, send in your best RFK Jr. impressions to the Perfect Movie Podcast at gmail.com.
I don't know. Subscribe to that. Why is it still Southern?
I think that might be because of some sort of condition that he has.
That's because of the brainworm and the bear that he ate.
So let's be nice. Nobody in the Republican Party would ever make fun of someone for like a medical condition. Or I don't know, maybe like just try to, you know, eliminate their ability to get medical care or, you know, use the proper bathrooms without being harassed or anything like that. Okay, bye.
out the way you want it.
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
Because
a
it's
little
so
of it?
much fun, Chan. Get it?